All right, we're going to call the Public Works Committee meeting to order. In attendance is Councilmember Cloninger and Councilmember Andy Litton and several staff members. So first order of business is to have staff provide us an update on the animal control facility.
That's my cue, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right. If most of you recall, we had a workshop back in December of 2024 where we basically provided a quick overview of why, the justification for the shelter, followed by a presentation by our architect under contract at the time that presented a conceptual design that we had gone through. Won't go through the details of that, but understandably, the cost was not well received, and it presented one option. So it was kind of back to the drawing board. We understood your concerns, started rethinking it, reimagining it, looking at that original conceptual design, which was a renovation and expansion of the existing shelter. So I guess moving forward, we knew we had to have options. We knew we had to try to find a more cost-effective way to do this. So we kind of have two primary goals going forward: build the most cost-effective animal shelter that meets the needs of the department and citizens, and then effectively communicate with you all through the process and with the citizens as we go through this and be openly transparent. So that's where we are today. We have advertised an RFQ for an owner rep project management firm. Essentially, this firm will oversee the project from beginning to end, design all the way through construction, all the way through a warranty period, if approved. We thought this method was the best way moving forward. This is an unusual facility. We have one chance to get it right. This way, we have subject matter experts to see it through all the way through completion. So we did ultimately select Leitner Management Group, LMG. We intend to have this contract on the August 18th agenda for your consideration. Leading up to that, as we're negotiating the contract now, we had a scope meeting to kind of further define the scope and to negotiate the contract. And Leitner is committed, and they share our commitment to build a cost-effective animal shelter. That's the primary driver. That's the primary thing. Cost effectiveness is what we're looking for, but we want to be able to also meet the needs that we need to meet. So, per their proposal, once they're under contract, the process includes multiple phases over an estimated duration of 28 months. They do that in their proposal just to kind of so they can provide us a proper fee proposal going forward. But they have a 28-month schedule from beginning to end. That includes conceptual design, that's where we're going to get the options. We're going to review that existing option of renovating expansion, and then also begin looking at York County-owned properties to build a new facility. Figure out which one's more cost-effective, what's going to get us the best thing moving forward there. So that's in that conceptual phase. There'll be some cost modeling in that too to help move forward. Once we get a plan there, we'll move on to the actual design phase. And in that phase, we'll end up having to we'll have to essentially hire an architect for that design phase, and they'll oversee that with the architect. And ultimately going into a construction phase and then a closeout warranty phase. Now, through this whole thing, like I said, communication is key, and there are many opportunities for updates and communication. First of all, the whole project process, starting with August 18th when we go to y'all for the first contract with the LMG, there's that. There's ultimately going to be an architectural design contract that will have to go before council, and there's ultimately going to be a construction contract. Those are the minimum updates and communication, but we can tailor a plan, update you however along the way. There's multiple milestones. Our decision to renovate, expand versus new building and what that cost comparison looks like. That's an opportunity for an update. And these updates can be informally through this Public Works Committee process or all council or workshops, however you decide. And then ultimately, you know, final design, I think that's a good time to come back to council before we bid for construction to kind of go through that whole process. But again, cost is the biggest driver here, and we understand that's the importance, so.
And if the chair will yield, I want to add a couple more pieces of information. If we rewind back to that December meeting, like Eric said, we understood the discomfort with the projected price that was given. So Mr. Madden, who regrets he couldn't be here tonight, he had some parental duties with school starting soon. You know, he and I conferred a lot about this between then, and you may recall at a council meeting, could have been a budget workshop if I recall right. You know, I made some comments then about what we were trying to do. We've looked at an animal control facility in Cherokee County, and they've given us advice on things they would or would not have done differently. But even at the time, shortly after the December meeting, we really combed through what the architect was doing. We don't necessarily fault the architect. They were doing what they were told to do, but they did have a pretty detailed preliminary contractor's estimate. And Mr. Madden and I felt like there were a lot of redundant contingencies built into that estimate. So I also wanted to take a moment and embellish what Eric spoke of with the owner's rep. I think with a unique facility like this, an animal control facility that, you know, it's not your standard office building or not your standard court facility. It's very different because it's an area where humans and animals have to cohabitate for different reasons. So we felt like the owner's rep approach would be advantageous because people like Leitner, if they're selected, you know, they have day-to-day, real-time knowledge of market pricing of construction materials, and as Eric alluded to, you know, the steps we're likely to go through, you know, they'll also give us advice on the most advantageous construction delivery method. We could do design bid build, where we would have to have, you know, an architect designing the building, especially if it's a new one. You could do a design build method, but the contractor still has to incorporate an architect into that process. And I'm sure you, Councilman Litton, as a PE, understand those delivery methods very well. So, and I think they will be able to help us move a little faster, or as fast as we can if we are ready to expedite the project. But again, we think there are multiple advantages to it. And today, just getting some early intelligence, we feel like with an abundant amount of confidence that we could come in construction-wise under $20 million. You know,
Oh, it has to be. It's going to have to be under 20 million.
Yes.
It's gonna,
Well, I understand.
Yeah.
Now, I wish I could land on a number, but
Yeah.
we're not going to know that until we do
right.
bids.
And
But we understand that, you know, you want to get as far below that threshold as you can. And I'm just saying we're committed to get us there. And I think what Clark Patterson Lee did with what they were asked to do wasn't awful if we were going to continue to use that facility. But I think it's going to be cheaper to build from the ground up than to do a retrofit. And there's one other piece of information I'm missing. It'll probably come back to me later, but we think we're prepared to try and proceed with putting together a facility that'll meet your goals, especially financial goals. And any way that you all can elucidate or be specific in what those goals are, that's part of what we're here to do, is listen.
okay. Well, I think once we sign on what seems to be Lightner, the LMG group, for us to have some kind of initial, have them appear before the committee on initial, kind of give us kind of where they're at, what they're thinking. And I wrote down 3 things I think is gonna be, 3 other times that I think we probably would have to have some kind of follow-up with the committees when we're considering the location, considering the design, and then ultimately the cost.
Sure.
You know, and by then they should have that part. Wasn't looking for any kind of projected number today. Obviously, you couldn't tell us that if you wanted to. But those are, I think, 3 critical points that I think we should be hearing back.
What are you giving them?
I haven't reviewed the competitive packages because they've kind of been under public works at this point.
So
rather than
you had
under-
like 3 vendors three
we had
companies
that.
to apply or whatever?
For the selection of LFG?
Yes.
There were 6. 6.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you
proposed.
chose this one out.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
We
that's
do that through a
valid.
committee and through a.
Did they
you know,
give
scoring
any idea
matrix.
on the cost?
I do have a cost number, and that will be included. I don't.
Yeah.
In that, I can share that as a
Well,
now if.
This.
I
We
think
on a
that-
need
kind
to
of
know
be
It's
basis.
on August
Yeah.
18th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it hasn't been fully negotiated, so.
It's just to keep the integrity
Yeah.
of the solicitation pure, but I can tell you that in my experience, it's usually anywhere from 1.5% to 2% the cost of a project. So
What, for their fee? Is that what you were asking? Or were you asking for the cost of the facility?
What they were bidding out, what they bid up, you know, what their figure, what their number was.
Mhm.
To do?
How did they get this, how did they get it?
So that was actually, there
I
was
thought
no
you was asking
cost
the
associated
cost.
with the selection, it was an RFQ.
I thought you was asking the cost,
Yes.
either
Okay.
the cost of the
And then
facility or
negotiate.
their cost to
Got
do
it.
the project management. Which one were you asking?
The cost of the project.
The cost, I stand corrected, the cost hasn't been determined yet
Right.
because it was an RFQ.
Yes.
And
Correct.
the price would then be negotiated, you know, typically the way that works, you start with the top scored proposer, and based on the quality of their company and the approach and everything like that. And
I think
then-
she was asking the cost to build it. Is that what you were asking?
Well, but that's part of the project,
Yeah.
is to build. I mean, did y'all go in to them with a figure? Or you didn't?
Is that any?
With a budget figure? Yes.
Uh-huh, you
Okay.
did.
Yes, yes.
Because, I mean, they gotta have somewhere to go
Right.
from.
Right.
I mean,
Absolutely, yes.
But without a design to it, I guess the preliminaries that we looked at earlier from expanding what we already have or building from the ground up, those are those are apples and oranges.
Yeah.
You know, so
They are, and I think the site evaluation is necessary because there's probably limited space out there.
Mhm.
There might be a lot of underground utilities and other things to
Or lack
consider.
of, yes.
Or lack of.
Yes.
Yeah, there could be bedrock. Soil testing might.
The-
well, you
That
might
very
run into
first
that.
phase is that site due diligence, so
Mhm.
that's all in that conceptual phase. But it is kind of important to note, talking about their fee, any other soft cost and everything is will all be part of the project budget. So their fee is not in excess of the project budget, it is all part of the
it's baked
holistic
into it. It's
budget.
baked into it.
Yes,
Yeah.
so yes.
okay, and then, potential locations.
They will be evaluating every York County owned.
How many
potential
are there?
That's right, when we get under contract, that's phase 1. I mean, there's plenty, it's just, first they're gonna determine what size we need, and then we'll do a quick GIS search basically, and provide them with that, and their first phase of their approach is to evaluate all those sites. So, and see what's feasible and what is not. I mean, just without getting in the weeds, there's a lot available in and around the current one because there's a lot of landfill buffer space or surrounding our landfill. Might not be the best, but a lot of it is, greenfield. But I mean, there's challenges to everything. There might be
Yeah.
wetlands, but yeah, we'll get into that as the first phase of the project.
And I think, and I don't know if Lightner will be doing this board, whoever the awardee is, but I think in the same breath or in the same duration, if we find that, we either have to, well, if we determine, obviously, we're building from the ground up, and that works, whether it's, nearby or at another location, I think it would be prudent on our part to make sure that if we're going to vacate the existing facility at some point in time, think if there's a way that we can recommission or readapt the use for the building. Because I think it could still be useful under the Public Works umbrella in some capacity, possibly a utilities building, which we're going to need. But I think the building is sturdy and durable enough to where, it could be retrofitted for another use.
Okay.
Are y'all going to propose or investigate any ordinance revisions to temper the capacity requirements for the facility?
We could. I think part of the issue is that we, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, but I'm going on just the knowledge I've heard. We attempt to be a no-kill shelter, or a less-kill shelter.
Yeah, let's not use that terminology.
Let's kill.
Yeah.
Well, even in pure no-kill, the acceptable rate is, 90% adoption, but there's that factor. I've heard that we get a lot of strays dropped off at our facilities, and that's sort of a last resort thing for pet owners who don't want their animals. I think that would, I know I reviewed the ordinance back in December and January. I've got some notes. There were some things in the ordinance that may lead in the direction that you're talking about, but I think that would be easy enough to examine.
So since you brought that up, how have we been doing with our adoptions and euthanized?
So right
Are
now
we
we're
trending
at,
up, down? Where
this
we?
last year, 88% over the last year?
For 2024.
Yes, 88% live save rate.
Okay.
Which is tremendous.
Very good.
Especially compared to 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So yes, but there's still, we have our ideas of some ordinance changes that can be made. We're actually working on that and just looking at it and trying to make some possible recommendations in the future. The facility, right, is just one piece of the whole puzzle. We understand to address the whole issue, we got to address some ordinance changes. We need some additional education and some enforcement out there, along with a facility that's adequate to house that and to stay adequate as well. But yes,
And
we
we
definitely consider.
Did we not have a bunch of dogs that were at the sheriff houses where there's court cases?
What is the court cases? We have a ton of court cases, and those animals tend to stay about 90% longer than any other stray dogs. We hold them for multiple years in some cases. So that's another issue that we'll have to address somehow.
So service delivery and ordinances really drive the kind of facility that you need.
So we have to, I think I talked with Kevin Brackett a while back, and they were working on something to be able to get the owners in certain cases to sign them over, what.
Cost
Yeah.
You want me to speak?
Yeah, kind of give me the update. So where we at on that?
Yeah.
So a lot of what they're referring to related to court cases is driven by state law. So we don't have the ability to make the adjustment to all of that. We do have some adjustments and things in mind that we think can help, but again, that's in the discussion phase. What you're referring to is cost of care, I believe.
Okay.
That was put through by state law. What we're now seeing is counties are mirroring it at a county level. Where we are in the process is we have a system in place to address it through state law. It reduces the stay time significantly if they are able to get in contact with the owner, present to court, and get them to decide whether they want to surrender or pay the cost of care. The owner always has the option to
Right.
pay for us to hold the animal.
Right.
So if they agree to pay, we're stuck with that animal until a court case comes up. It is significantly reducing our time though, because we were holding animals previously for upwards of 3 years. The recent ones we have using the system are reducing it. The first section went down to a year, and now we're working on ones that have only been there 6 months. So we're seeing a significant reduction. The difference that is combating that and making a difference is the increase in the number of animals that are being taken by law enforcement. Whenever law enforcement goes out, whether it is they arrest someone for a DUI, someone passes away at their house, or there's a cruelty case, we get all of those animals. If someone's taken to a hospital, we get those animals. That has increased in 1 year 187%.
When you say taken to the hospital, like,
If you were taken by ambulance, let's say, God forbid, you had a heart attack, okay? And you were taken and your pup was with you and no family member was
Okay, no
there.
family, okay.
We would get all those animals to care for until you were conscious enough to defer it for someone else to pick up, okay? So we do a lot of services like that that people don't realize. We take in all of those. Those have increased 100, I think it's, forgive me the percentage exactly, but I want to say it's around 187% in 1 year. The prior year, they increased by 400%. So when you have that amount of animals coming in that are by nature being held significantly longer than a stray old dog, you can put a law in place that will reduce the time you're holding overall from years to months. But then the volume coming in, you still have to account for that increase. Does that make sense? I know it's confusing when you
I
don't live it every day.
never even thought about something like that. You know, individual, single person who has pets have to be,
Yeah.
you know, transported medically, you know.
Well, what can we do to combat the, that massive increase? You know, and percentages can be, a little, you know, misconceiving. If you have, you know, 1 came in last year and 4 came in this year, that's a 400% increase. So without knowing that, the
So
actual
we
goes
do
with it.
multiple every week now.
Mhm.
When I
Okay.
first started at the shelter, we would do one every 6 months.
Right.
And now it's consistent every week.
So
multiple.
why is there so many of them all of a sudden that are coming in that way? Was there a change in an ordinance, a state law, or we just have more people getting sick or hurt and can't care for them?
I think it's multiple things.
Mhm.
From observation, and I do not have data to back this up because it's a relatively new problem, but it's happening across the United States. I just was in a webinar today about it. They are seeing an increase post-pandemic. So immediately during the pandemic, we started getting an increase of animals coming in related to health issues, deaths in
Right.
family, and different ones like that. But as a result, fast forwarding a couple years, we're seeing a difference in the dynamic of the economy. People can no longer afford to have pets to take care of their own families. And so we're seeing a lot of animals that are in situations. So what we've done to combat that is we've stepped up our support to the community. We're getting increased donations. We have a food pantry. We have food on the officers' trucks. I just posted today, if they're having trouble getting compliance with their animals running loose, we're providing the trolley system. We're doing what we can to try to keep people with their pets
Right.
as long as they're able to provide support. But some people just can't do it because they're losing their homes completely. The other thing we've seen an increase in is the amount of animals being surrendered because we don't have a lot of pet-friendly housing. I know housing's a big discussion among household, but there is not a lot of housing that allows pets around in York County anymore. And so we're seeing a huge influx of animals being surrendered because of that.
Are there any, along with the ordinance changes for that, is there anything we can do to make to help people, to incentivize them to be more pet friendly in housing or something?
I don't think
Because
we'll be able to touch
sometimes
that.
giving people a couple of dollars saves hundreds in our cost for trying to run a larger facility. So I would like for y'all to investigate all the options and let us know what we can do before we just go out and build this massive facility that seems like, I was at that meeting in December as an observer and not as a council member, but I remember thinking during it that at the rate we're going, even that facility was going to fill up within a few years based on the charts and graphs. So, yeah, I'm worried about that we can't keep on this. It's an unsustainable directive.
How are we on working with with all of the rescues or a lot of the rescues to help us with whether it's adoptions or helping people take care of their pets and all?
So there are a couple community groups that focus on that. One is Project Safe Pet, and today they provided us the trolley system to put up. So they're supporting through that. They are also gone to the community and set up kennels so that people can get in compliance. Additionally, there's the Spay Neuter Coalition, which is a combination of multiple rescues, and they provide free spay and neuter to animals in our community. I think it is good to be noted that we are the only county I'm aware of in North or South Carolina that has offered free access to spay neuter for over a decade. So when it talks about controlling our numbers, if you look at our success compared to surrounding counties, we are actually operating at a much higher level and more successful than surrounding counties in combating our animal problem. Even though it doesn't feel like it, we're being more successful because we already have these avenues and support systems in place that many counties haven't explored yet. As far as rescues and taking in animals, we have the highest percentage of animals that lead of any county in the state to rescue partners. Over 4,000 in 3 years have left to partners.
One thing I want to go back and I'll make this comment, and since I've been with the Public Works Committee, I've always said responsible people are going to be responsible. It's how do we reach those individuals who are less likely to be responsible and at the same time needing help and education to become more responsible. And so it brings me to this question, how can we, and I know a lot of these rescues are not set up officially as nonprofits, so we can't even use our discretionary money to help them do this if they were out in the community. So I guess my question is to try to find a way for, if we wanted to give some extra funding to animal control, to then be able to get to some of these rescue groups that are the boots on the grounds that are out working and finding trouble situations. If it's a food situation, if it's a dog or shelter situation, because that's not your job per se, but those ones who are out in the community doing and looking and finding, it's a resource it's a resource, it's a shortage of resources. How do we get those resources to those rescue groups who are not set up in a nonprofit capacity, who would be able to receive funding to try to get around that part? Because we don't want animal control trying to go out and take food. Of course, if it's on the truck and they see it, but rescue groups, that's kind of their backyard. If they see a shelter situation, trying to just get those resources down, because we don't want those coming to our shelter, because that's a lot more expensive space than it would be for couple $100, couple $1,000 going to a couple rescues. I mean, if they're occupying space, we're talking about millions of dollars at a facility.
There is a group that works with multiple people, some of them other nonprofits, some of them are just random citizens that all come together. The group that coordinates all of that is Project Safe Pet.
So
if you're looking
They-
for a group,
right.
they themselves are nonprofit, but they work with other organizations.
Right, so they
that
could
are
kick
not.
it down, so they can kick the.
Yeah, they have
Yes.
random citizens that'll, I know of one who's right now because we had a cat situation that we were assisting with, and it was beyond our capacity. We just did not have the capacity at the shelter to
Right.
take all of them in. And so our officers are well versed with, these are who can help us. They reached out. They were there the next weekend, and they had random people that they worked with. They went in and they spayed and neutered all of them. got into an event, got them all spayed and neutered for 'em.
And what was the name of that group again?
Project Safe Pet. And they have a catchy little phone number, 980-DOGS.
980 dogs.
Is
Yeah,
there-
our other group that supports the shelter, but it filters more to support the animals that are already in the shelter, is Friends of York County Animal Shelter. They're our 501c3. Their focus is slightly different though. Their focus is to support us, so when we have animals, that their costs might be extensive, more than what a shelter budget would care for. Maybe some extraordinary medical for an animal that could be adoptable, but it's not something we're gonna put thousands of dollars into a stray animal. They step up and try to raise the funding to take over that and help us with that.
Well, I like the fact that you pointed out that we're kind of leading the way, so to speak, with how many pets get sent out or taken care of. But it feels like when people come to us at these council meetings, we're getting drugged like, you're not doing anything, we got the world's biggest. But to hear that we're doing good with that, we don't hear those kind of comments. So, but publicly, it takes on the feel like, you guys are the worst things alive, because look at what the problem that we have. But
And I encourage them, we are, if you look at our media pages, either our Facebook or our website, I was looking at, when I was trying to gather information for y'all to present for what we needed for the shelter compared to other shelters, I couldn't find data from anyone. I had to call to get a hold. We post ours on our website every month for citizens. We do social media and post it every month, focus groups. Last time when people came to visit the shelter and when I spoke with all of y'all, you mentioned, where are these pets coming from? One of the council members did. So the whole next year, I did my stats focused on zip codes because you all wanted to see that, and I posted it every month. This year, it was more about people giving up their pets. Why are they giving up their pets? So if you follow our page, every month we post that information for our citizens. So if they ever have questions, I would really encourage them to look at that, because if they look at that and then look at other counties, there is a stark, and I'm not trying to take away, because every county has their own challenges.
Right.
You know, we are very lucky to have as much support as we do. Not all counties are that lucky. But if they compare around us, he mentioned earlier Cherokee, there is a distinct difference between the success of the two counties.
Yeah, and a lot of the issues raised are state issues in reality. They're across the state of South Carolina. They're across the nation, a lot of them, but.
Yes.
Well, do y'all
yeah.
publicize the issues that are actually state issues that need to be handled at a higher level than what we can do?
I think we have tended to focus on our own because we have not gotten in the business of encouraging people on their opinions.
Right.
What they do, we focus more on the information of this is what we're observing, hoping that people will be inspired to go above. There is a whole committee through HSUS, which is Humane Society of the United States. They come and visit us regularly, and they send us what they're working on and get feedback from us. And so cost of care actually was implemented at the state level as a result of a visit to our shelter. Tommy Pope came to our shelter and visited when we had a cruelty case that had 83 animals from one house. One house.
Oh my Lord.
And we see a lot of these breeding situations where there's uncontrolled breeding in our county, and it's the same situations over and over again filling the shelter. They came and visited the shelter, saw the condition of the animals, saw that we were overflowing trying to care for these animals, and that kind of initiated the push to change the state law. So we got to give a lot of feedback on that law. The other thing that takes place, which is really nice, is as a result of those visits, we've become sort of a model shelter in the essence that they come and visit us now to kind of see what operations should look like and what they should be doing. Lexington just visited a couple months ago to see like what changes they needed to put in place to keep up with what we're doing in our county. So it's really nice to be part of that network.
well, I'm sure they're gonna be chomping at the bit to come see this new facility.
I'll also add that, I think, trying to be, or trying to operate what I would call a humane facility, we become a victim of our own success. And that really is what perpetrates the need for either new or some kind of expanded shelter, because we have to think about the future too. We all know how York County is going to grow in population, and I think the domesticated animal population is going to rise in the same fashion. But I don't think that takes away our commitment from building a facility that works and that is built with value in mind. So we're very much committed and conscious to that, and I think that's why we've shifted direction at the management level and the service level to to provide that commitment that we can offer and guarantee to you. So we hope you feel like we're going in the right direction with this. And to your points earlier, yes, it's our firm commitment to report to the committee and the entire council when necessary to make sure that you're fully informed.
Okay.
Have y'all investigated additional funding mechanisms? I mean, the other one I can think of right offhand would be, licensing, but is there any other
Licensing is chunk
methods?
change.
Is there anything out, I'm just looking at any way to get a few extra dollars that we can that we do use as community support to help people keep their animals at their house. Not to fund operations or a new building or anything like that, but more for community support.
I'll start to be at
I've never-
1,000.
I haven't looked into it real far, but, it's just,
It's something to throw
any
out.
type of funding mechanisms. Are there other places in the state? Is there anything out there, or the county, or the country? Is there anywhere?
We've gotten various grant fundings. They don't support it on that level of
Right.
continual. They expect when you do the initial investment that you're gonna carry it over and support it from there on out. Most of those large grants are rewarded to 501c3 nonprofits. And so they don't tend to give government agencies huge grant subsidies
Right.
like that for programs. I think of the one that probably is most successful with having that kind of funding, but a lot of it is private donors, is Charleston Animal Society, and they're not government-based. Everyone else is struggling. And I think, to speak to your point earlier, something that to acknowledge maybe to the citizens that show concern is that we're operating at a level of offering services that most animal controls are no longer offering. And so I think that is something to be acknowledged for them.
Well, I hate to bring that up too, then, are we over offering? Are we too successful in running at, I hate to say it this way, it's gonna sound terrible, but are we running at too high of a success level?
Well, that depends on what you all want. Other counties are telling people to make
Bring 'em here.
appointments and
To bring 'em here.
bring them
To
here.
bring 'em
We
here.
Get them from other stuff. Make appointments. So if you find an animal, they will say,
Can you get it over to York County?
have fun. Here's a bag of food. Do you want us to tell citizens that when they find an animal in the middle of the road, it's on them now? To me, I feel like what we offer is something that you all would want us to continue to offer. I don't necessarily agree we should cut service.
Right.
Well, we all wanna offer gold service to everybody, or platinum service to everybody, but sometimes you just,
Yeah.
even though we strive for that and would love to do it, I would love for all the roads out there to be smooth and no potholes, but obviously we can't offer that either. And that's just a worry. I'm looking at any option that we can get the absolute best for our community and for our county. But, I don't wanna go, too far into that and cause an issue also by trying to be too much.
I think I can say we know exactly what you mean. we want to get there too. It's kind of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You know, we want the porridge to be just right.
Right.
And I think we have to think about those things as we're going with the owner's rep, as we're going through the process, because you know they may say, well, okay, if you want the Cadillac, or if you want to keep a Cadillac, it may end up costing this much to maintain it or build it. You know, so we'll have to look at very carefully if we can make sacrifices or possibly enhancements. But I think the approach we're taking is better, and that's the key thing to keep in mind right now. But I think we will be addressing everything you all are talking about.
Yeah, the question of what services should or we shouldn't, that came up in that original
Right.
conceptual design, but I'll tell you, we made the determination in that concept to not cut anything. So the question's going to come up again as we move forward.
Right.
When we get to the impasse where, okay, we can't get this to be cost effective, what can we do now? We're gonna have that tough conversation at that point, possibly.
I just want it all to be part of this plan,
Yeah, right.
so we do it
Yes.
right, we get it
Yeah.
right now. And so we're ready and prepared.
Yeah, we don't want to relive that December meeting. It was painful.
Yeah. Well, I'll say we fully intend to be transparent through this committee. I think that'll help us. When we do ultimately land at a location and a number, I'm sure these meetings are gonna heat up a little bit. I'm sure our council meetings are gonna heat up a little bit surrounding this topic. So I know we're gonna have multiple meetings, so we're gonna be mindful of everybody's time, so we won't be dreading, oh, there go another Public Works Committee meeting. So we're gonna we were on about 45 minutes, and I think we've made some good time just as an introduction to this process. So unless there's something else, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, I didn't know.
All in favor, say aye.
Executive session.
Oh, is there?
No.
There's no.
Anything? Okay.
Thank you, Debbie.
Sorry.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting's adjourned.